Okay, let's start. So let's do an imagination exercise. Imagine that you have to install a Postgres master, and you have to create some users, do some roles with different privileges. Of course, we are not crazy to not have a backup server, so we're going to create a backup server, and we want to have high availability with a standby. And we want this standby to take the raw files for Postgres, in this case from the backup server. This is fun, right? Some people like doing this, but there is a catch. You have to do this in 5 or 50 or 500, 5,000 servers. So this is going to be a little complicated. In this moment, you have two options. Or you're going to start to be crazy with a lot of shells and trying to do this manually, or you're going to do the correct way, automating this thing. You have a lot of options. Today, we're going to do automation through Ansible. And this is a kind of a general idea what you can do. We're going to talk about Postgres with Ansible. My name is Rubens. I am a Postgres consultant at Second Quadrant. And we're going to talk about this today, taking care of PostgreSQL with Ansible. If you want to do the social media, this is the contacts we have. And why you do that? Just to have some idea. Who here uses Ansible already? Puppet? Marco, no. Ansible in production? Okay, good, good. So Ansible is part of a kind of management software. You have a lot of softwares. And this is not something new. The first one that was released was 93, CF Engine. Until today, some companies are still using that. It's good. You have a lot of options. So some of these projects, they are dead. Some of the projects, they are still active. All of them, they try to do the automation in one way or another. The most known ones are these four. Or we're going to talk about Puppet or Chef or Ansible or ShotStack. And we have some numbers there. Of course, the most used one today is Puppet yet, because it's the most reliable and old one, you could say, like started to be a really serious product first. So it was in 2005. But you can see a lot of difference here. And what allows me to talk about Ansible in a Python conference is because Ansible is with Python. This is the main difference that we have between these four options. Ansible is the only one that is agentless. And about the stars on GitHub, I know that these numbers, they don't say much, but do they? Like, you can see the projects. Puppet started more than 10 years ago. And Ansible is for 2012. And you have, this is an expression of the size of the community. We have the community in Ansible is really active. It's a project that is changing fast. And there is a reason for this number to be like that in comparison to the other projects. We're going to try to see that. So why is so popular automation today? Because actually technology is getting cheaper. Some 10 years ago, I think nobody is going to think about you having your own VPS, your own server. I think most of us here has your own VPS server. For the companies as well, a lot of companies, the structure of the company start to grow. So from 5 servers today, you have like 100, 1,000 servers. So this is, you have to find a way to manage all of these servers. So this, in a way, is because of technology getting cheaper. As well, the system gets more complex, and we try to find a solution for that. So why Ansible? Ansible, like I said, is the one that you don't have many requirements. You don't have to have any agent in the server that you are going to, in the host that you are going to manage. You just need SSH that in 99% of all the servers, and you have to have Python. Just a line of command, you can install Python, so you don't need anything installed in the host server. So it's really easy to start working with this. And you actually, Ansible is developed with Python, but you can use Ansible without knowing to code in Python, because you do with YAML. YAML thinks more about, it's a declarative language. So you think more about what you want to do instead of how you want to do it. So if you read a YAML file, you can pretty much understand what's saying. You don't need to be a coder to understand that. So this makes things a lot easier. Because of that, the learning curve is a little, is really small if you compare to Puppet, for example. This is a project that in this blog here, this company, this guy here, he works in Lyft. Lyft is a company that has the same kind of business model as Uber. So they have a huge structure, and they had everything with Puppet. And they started to think about moving away from Puppet because it was really hard for the new guys, the new sysadmin working there, to learn Puppet in a fast way. So they are trying to find a solution, and they start to test. And the test was between Puppet, Ansible, and SaltStack. This is one of the points, like they could take 10,000 lines of Puppet code and put just in 1,000 lines of Ansible and SaltStack. In the end, if you read this blog, they choose SaltStack instead of Ansible. It's really good if you read that. They have their reasons to choose SaltStack. SaltStack is a really good product as well. Today, this was in 2014, so a lot of things changed. And from this blog, I think on Hacker News, you have a discussion on Hacker News. Even the developer of Ansible was there. So it's an interesting discussion if anyone here wants to research something. We have some example of that for the learning curve. We have a project in Second Quadrant that we developed with the Firenze University. We have some students here. And one of the demos that I'm going to try to show you guys, these students, they did the thing that we're going to do here in just 1 week. Was 1 week, yeah? 1, 2 weeks. Yeah. Between 1 and 2 weeks, they develop a Postgres cluster automated with Ansible. So the learning curve is not that steep if you want to start learning Ansible. Ansible has worked by modules, so we have different modules, a lot of modules for different things, with shell commands and script. And if you want to develop your own module, you can use any language you want. So it makes things easier. Ansible is secure, has auto security with SSH and with sudo. We don't need any extra security layer to work with Ansible, with everything working there already. And you have a part of Ansible that is Vault. You can put the passwords and information, the security information inside of Vault. Ansible, the community, as I was saying, is really huge and active. Ansible Galaxy is the part of Ansible that stores the community. So you can try to find any playbook that you want. Probably someone developed the playbook that you want to develop is on Ansible Galaxy already. And just to compare the methods, we have here the old way, so you do manually. And then, of course, you try to do in a shell script because you don't want to every time type the same things. And they're going to compare this with Ansible, for example. So in the manual, you just type the code every time. You can do this in one server, but if you do this like in 5 servers, you're going to get crazy. Of course, because of that, you develop a shell script. But shell script, you are not sure that this is going to be, the end of the state is going to be the way that you want. If you launch a shell script, it's going to do the commands every time you launch that. And compare this with a YAML file. So this is an Ansible playbook for who haven't seen this yet. It's just, if you read that, it's English or Italian. You can understand this easy. So with that, we have some questions. Which of these methods do you think is going to be more easy to having version control? Or for example, you are sure that when you launch this, the result is going to be the same in the end of the playbook. If you take these points in consideration, you can even try to have some shell scripts. Manually, you are not going to be able to do that. But between a shell script or an automation product like Ansible, Ansible is the right way to do, or any other one as well, of course. And just automation, allowed to have some differences because people talk about automation, but what actually Ansible does a change management, and works by state. You say you have a server, you say the state that you want the server to be in the end of the playbook. So that state is going to be granted, you are not worried about how this is going to be done. You are worried about this state being reached in the end. And this allows you to have idempotency. So doesn't matter how many times you launch the playbook, the result is going to be always the same. That's the thing important. It does provision as well. So if you have a Linux server, for example, provisioning this, you want to change the state to become a database server, for example. And of course, automation. You can have launch this through a playbook, or you can do just one command ad hoc. For example, you want to do some monitoring from your server, just one line of command. You want to do just ad hoc comments. And orchestration is the big thing. Like you have a group of servers that are databases, a group of servers that are web servers. You want to orchestrate everything in your installation. Ansible does this as well. And how does Ansible play? That part is really interesting. As I was saying, the requirements are really easy. You just need SSH and Python. That's it. And Ansible works now with the Python 3 as well. So before it was just Python 2. On the control machine, you have to have Python 2 or Python 3. It doesn't work today with Windows, so the control machine cannot be a Windows machine. On the server, the node that is going to be managed, so the host that are your target, there you can have Windows through PowerShell, and as well Python 2.6 is the lower one. But with Python 3 it works as well. So you don't have to install anything. It's just SSH and Python, that's it. The installation, today all the big Linux distributions, they have Ansible on the OS package manager. So you can choose whatever you want to install. Before it was just with pip, but pip is still a way of using. It depends how your system admin wants to work with this. So it's really easy to install. I have this video of the installation. So I just install Python, have to have Python there. This is a way of cheating the demo. So this is going to work all the time. The installation today is a little easier. When I did this demo, I think it was Ansible 2.0, I think. Today with Red Hat and Debian and Ubuntu, they have all the latest version of Ansible in the repositories, so it's easier to install. But of course, when you have a new version of Ansible, it usually goes first to pip. Today the version of Ansible is 2.5.1. And if you go to install in Ubuntu, I don't know if you're going to be able to install 2.5.1, I think it's just 2.4, I'm not sure. So, done. I wish all the demos work like that. So these are the key components of Ansible. Most of the time you talk about the playbook, but you have an inventory file. That's the file that shows all the hosts that are going to be your target. The playbook calls the module as well, the module that you want to use, like a shell module, Postgre module to create schemas. You're going to be called by the playbook. The playbook is the point everything is called for. This playbook uses through the Ansible config is going to create a Python framework and send everything through Python to the host that are going to change the configuration through SSH and then do the changes in those servers. So these are the key components. A part of this, if I talk about playbooks, the playbook, of course, they have playing sides. Inside of the plays, you have tasks. So in the end, you just have a task and you want that task to be executed. That's it. It's really simple, actually. And you have variables, templates, and roles. We're going to try to see this during the playbook as well. The inventory file, I don't know if you could see, you're going to see the inventory file in the demo, but the inventory file is the way that Ansible can know with actions it wants to do in different servers. For example, this is a group of DB servers, and this is a group of web servers. You can launch one playbook and orchestrate different actions on different group of servers And of course, the web service can depend on some actions that have to be done first on the databases, and after those actions, the web server are going to continue with the playbook. So you can control that. You can orchestrate how things are going to work in the order that you want them to work. The module, we have modules for everything, for package management, for source control, monitoring databases, Amazon, AWS, so clouding. You have a lot of modules. And you can go to the Ansible documentation to check all the modules that are there. The documentation for the module is really good. It explains all the options you can use, how to call them. A task, in the end, is just this. You can see here, the name is not important. You don't have to put the name. It's just to explain what you want to do. The important part is here. I have, in this case, I'm using the apt module. And I'm going to install those packages. That's it. I'm sure that at the end of this task, every time I launch this, those packages are going to be installed on the servers. It's not going, if they are installed already, the task is not going to do anything because they are installed there already. If the packages are not there, they are going to be installed. This is a difference from the shell script, for example. If you launch an apt-get install Postgres, it's going to run that task every time because it's just a shell script. Here it's going to check and it's not going to do if it's there already. Just to have an idea about the plays and playbooks, we cannot see the color here, but here I have two tasks. And the tasks, they are inside of a play. The second part is a play. The play is inside of the playbook. I can have many plays inside of the same playbook. And just to know, a row is going to be a group of playbooks. I can expand this working with Ansible. Variables, we have mostly three kinds of variables. We have facts. When the Ansible is launched, it is going to take some facts from the server, the same way as Puppet does with the factors, the same thing. So the version of the operational system, the network stack, everything is going to be taken from the server. Host variables, so are the variables that I declare in my playbook, so are static variables. And I have dynamic variables. For example, I launch a command and I want to use the result of that command. I can create a variable dynamically in the playbook. Here is an example of the facts from a host. So the command that you can launch, just launch an Ansible setup. It takes Ansible facts, all the information, for example, the numbers of the IP4, the architecture that I'm using. This is automatically taken by Ansible. Who works with Puppet is the same thing. And here's an example of rows. So rows, as I say, is an abstraction, is a group of playbooks. Rows, the recommendation is always to work with rows, because rows allows you to create a row and use that row in different actions that you want. So you create a row, that row is done, you can use every time you want the row. It's a different abstraction instead of just the playbooks. What time? Okay, I have some ad hoc commands, just an example of launching the command. I can launch a command just to do some task in some hosts instead of doing a playbook. So I have a command that's Ansible. I can just do this command. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, yeah. Cheating again. Okay, so you do, like, I'm doing just a shell command in just this host, just pg01, and the command that I want to do is a df. So from my computer, I just run this, he's going to the server and take the information that I want. Of course, I can do this in 100 servers and put this information in a template file and generate a report for me automatically if I want. And this here is an example of a playbook. So So the difference is instead of Ansible, I run Ansible playbook and the name of the playbook I'm running. It's going to run the same thing on the same server. In this case, I'm just updating the package. He's going there, updates the package. The output is a little different, but this is calling from inside the playbook. I'm going to try to see a playbook later. Okay, and why Postgres? The same thing. We have, this is a couple. I have Ansible and Postgres. So the reasons for Ansible, I explained. The reason for Postgres are almost the same. The community of Postgres is huge. And we have people from all around the world. Some people say that we are nice people. I don't know, don't trust them. We use Perl as well. And the most important part of Postgres is the license. This is the whole license of Postgres. You can use everything. It's different. Doesn't have some like small letters that you cannot read, and then someday when a lawyer comes to your company and says something to you. The development cycle is really active. We have now, as Mark was saying, who said saw the talk before, we have version 10.3 now. And the documentation is huge. You can check everything you want on the documentation. And the Python community and the Postgres community have a really good relationship, thankfully. To use Ansible in Postgres, as I was saying, Ansible works through modules. We have a lot of modules, and modules specifically developed to Postgres, to be used to Postgres, are these ones. So they have 6 modules. So we have a module that just creates a database or removes a database. The same thing for users, from privileges, extensions, language, and schema. I can install a schema or remove a schema. I don't have to use a PSQL command to do anything. For example, to create a user, of course I can, using the shell module, I can do a PSQL command and create a user. But the recommendation is, if you have a module already, it's a lot easier if you run this command. We don't have yet a really important module for Postgres in Ansible. Who wants to guess which module would be? Would help a lot, a module that's not listed there. Okay. If I want to do an SQL command, I have to create use a shell command and use a PSQL. We don't have a PSQL module yet. This would help a lot. So, if anyone wants to help developing, to use any of these modules, for Postgres, a requirement's cycle PG2, and this is something really important. Ansible was just used on Python 2. Python 3 now works, but this change is recent. It was introduced recently. And for you to be sure if Python 3 is going to work, it depends also on the module that you are using. So you have to check if the module that you are using works with Python 3 as well. Because if it doesn't work, probably it's just Python 2. We have this problem before as well. If you want to be sure that your module works on Python 2 for sure. Some of the modules, they are not ported yet for Python 3. These are some examples for some playbooks. We're going to see this in more details in the demo, but just to see this one here. Okay. For example, this is a whole playbook. I have here some variables that I'm creating, and here I have 3 tasks using Postgres modules. In this case, I'm just creating a database based on the variable that I use here. In this case here, I'm just creating a user with passwords that I want and privileges. I can specify the privileges. And I'm changing the privileges of that user that I created previously. So it's really easy. You don't have to learn like a Ruby code or anything to do this, like Puppet, for example. Or even learn Python. This can be a strong part. To learn Ansible easily, this is a feature actually. This is an advantage. You don't have to know Python to start using Ansible. But of course, as you start to work and you start to develop some curiosity about, and you start to research and maybe learn coding, learn Python through the use of this. But you don't need to know this previously, to know Python to work with Ansible. This is a project that we use automating. It's an educational project with Raspberry. This cluster, this Raspberry Pi cluster here, is automated, everything installed automatically through Ansible. The project that we have is on GitHub. It's not updated yet with 2.5. We have to change something, some syntax for Ansible was changed. We have to update this. But if anyone wants to check, it's a really nice project for you to have in your house, or if you want to start to teaching or make some research about Postgres or Ansible, is an interesting project. This project, the idea is to achieve is this. We have 4 servers in this cluster, a master, a standby, a backup server, and a web server with our application, everything automated by Ansible. And this is the project diagram. So we have the master talking with the standby and doing backups, and of course the standby is talking as well with the backup server. It's the same project that we started, and it's the same project that we developed with the Firenze University, and everything automated by Ansible. These are the reference, and now I'm going to try to do something that you should never do in a talk, because you cannot play with the demagogues. But I'm going to try to launch this. I have 3 virtual machines here. I don't know if this is going to work because sometimes the virtual machine gets a little crazy. But I'm going to try to show how this works. I have the playbook. So I have, this is the playbook, here is my shell. The playbook, you can see, this is the host file. So you can see in the host file, I divided this by groups. So I have my database group and my backup group with 2 hosts in it, 2 hosts on database. So one is going to be my master and the other is standby. And I have a server that I'm going to install Barman to be my backup server. And I can create groups of groups, and I can create groups to use variables. In this case, the Ansible user variable is the user that is going to do access to the host servers. One interesting to see here, I can create another variables here. For example, this DB row is a variable that I created because, of course, I can go to a server that has Ansible, it has Postgres installed there already, and check if this server is a master or no automatically. But this is a playbook to install Postgres where I don't have a Postgres yet. So I'm specifying that I want this PG1 to be a master, the PG2 to be a standby, because they are not there yet. And just to see. Okay, I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. I put the servers up when I started, but I didn't do SSH, so maybe it's going to work, maybe not. But just to have an idea, I'm doing an ad hoc command here. I'm not doing a playbook. I'm just running an Ansible command. All is to say to doing all the servers that is in the host file. And the module that I'm using, the M, is the shell module, and the shell module needs an argument. It's the A, so my argument, the command to be run, is the df in those 3 servers. I don't know. Ah, it worked. Okay. You never know. So, I launched the command, he accessed all 3 servers, so the PG2 Barman, and just did a df. For fast checks, this is interesting, because I want to check like my 10 servers to see the state in this moment. I don't have to do SSH in all of them. I just do an Ansible, just an Ansible command, it's not the Ansible playbook. But of course, if I need more information from this, I can take this information and put in a report, as I was saying. The difference now And now is the dangerous part. Instead of Ansible, I can do Ansible playbook. So I have a playbook here that is a streaming playbook. The streaming playbook, the idea is to install Postgres in both of these servers. Oh, let's prove that I'm not cheating, because maybe I have Postgres installed there already. So if I go to one of the servers and just check if I have Postgres already installed, I don't have Postgres installed on this one. Everything is going to explode. So if I do, let's see what's going to happen. It's going to access all the servers. In this case, it's just the database, of course, because I don't have to install Postgres on my backup server. I just install Postgres on the 2 first. And he's following the playbook that I have done before. So this is a really simple playbook, actually. It's just to put the repositories, the pgdg repository, check the dependencies, and start installing the package. After Postgres is installed, then it's going to destroy one of the servers and put these servers up as a standby. That is the tricky part that I'm not sure if it's going to, okay, it's going to work. The only time that you have to wait here is for the SSH connection. You have some ways of configuring your Ansible config to try to do this a little faster, but actually the time that you have to wait is the time from the server to access internet and download the package. It's a normal operation. And you can follow what's happening by the name. These names are the name of the task. So there is a lot. Yeah, it worked. The same server. Okay, so I have now Postgres installed. So this is supposed to be the master. So this is the master. I don't have anything there. And I'm going to create. Okay, let's check this thing out first. Okay, was installed in standby as well. And I can try to check. So yeah, this is a standby, it's working. If I try, of course, to create a database here, is it going to work? Come on, is it going to work or not?
No.
Why not?
Standby.
Oh, not. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Let's pause this.
Come on, Johnny. Okay, let's try to do this. This why I don't need to do. We don't have to do demos.
You call them, so create.
Read only this.
Because I stand by. If I try to do this on my okay, if I check now, I have my test database there. If I do the same thing on yeah, so it worked. This playbook is really simple. The only, you can say that the part that needs a kind of logic working is when you start to put the standby up, because at that point you have two masters, and you have to destroy one of the masters and you put it as standby. But it works. It works. So I think that's it. Yeah. My time is running. Just one last thing. I was almost forgetting this. Ansible has a part that's kind of a server, that's Ansible Tower. I think who works with Ansible has heard about already. Ansible Tower is a project from Red Hat, and they charge for this, is not open source yet. In the end of the last year, they opened the project that's used to create the Ansible Tower. So now Ansible Tower is open source as well. The project is called Ansible AWX. Ansible AWX is the main project from where they create Ansible Tower. And it's the same business model Red Hat and Fedora. Fedora is the community, doesn't have any support paid from Red Hat. They take the Fedora and do the Red Hat Linux distribution. For Ansible AWX is the same thing. Ansible AWX is open source. Red Hat is going to take one snapshot one time and create Ansible Tower from that. So this is a huge step and a really nice project. You can start to create this and works really nice. Works almost a kind of server to take care of all your structure with Ansible. Similar to Puppet, but it's not the same way. But you can monitor all the servers that you have in this Ansible Tower or Ansible AWX server. Now I'm done. Questions?
So, questions?
My question is not exactly related, but I was wondering if anybody has tried to use Ansible or an Ansible-like approach to do migrations.
Yes. We do specifically with switchovers, for example. Switchovers we do with Ansible, and it's really nice, works nice. I haven't seen yet with migration, but it can be done. It can be done. Yeah, I can.
Migration.
Yeah.
We use for deploy.
Yeah,
So
it's the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's a migration from nothing. Yeah, it can be done.
Yeah. To reiterate the staging,
Yeah.
use Ansible.
Oh yeah, it's the same thing. Like we have a staging.
migration.
Yeah, we have a staging cluster, and we rehydrate this staging from production using Ansible. In 1 minute and 30 seconds, the whole staging. Yeah, can be done.
12 servers.
12 servers, 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's really nice. Yeah. It works.
Any other question? Don't be shy.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.